neglect, grief and survival. We've also worked with Ipsos to monitor hundreds of thousands of posts online about maternity, revealing the greatest concerns of those who are going through the system. It is an unprecedented gathering of opinions on the state of care in this country. Together, it paints a picture of maternity services that are struggling to cope, with families not being listened to and staff who are at breaking point. This is a special report from the Sky News Data and Forensics team, and it's narrated by Sophie Ridge. A warning, it does contain distressing content throughout.
I'm just about to go and see the little premature baby. What have we got there? Oh, what a beautiful boy!
Having a baby can be one of the most magical times of a woman's life.
I am 30 weeks plus 2 days pregnant. The bump is getting very, very big.
Went for weigh-in this week. We finally crossed over above 8 pounds.
The midwives were amazing. They felt like my sisters.
It can also be a moment of great vulnerability and, at times, danger.
It was frantic. People were shouting over everyone.
She just sort of snapped at me and just went, "I'm not here to help you."
The UK's maternity services are at breaking point, and the staff are broken too.
What do you want? More jobs! When do you want it? Now!
This job can be amazing, but in too many cases it actually destroys the people who are providing that service.
There are too many patients with too many complex needs, and there are not enough of us.
By following women, their babies and healthcare staff, and tracking the many thousands of conversations taking place online about maternity, our investigation reveals some of the greatest concerns for those going through the system and the human cost of not addressing them.
I remember putting her on my knee and I'm saying to her, "Not yet, please don't leave me, don't go."
Hi, Belle. Hi, baby kiddo. There's Daddy.
Hi everyone, my name's Caitlin. I am the mother to a beautiful daughter called Belle.
You're so beautiful.
I just tend to post a bit of everything. I post videos of what Belle was like before her injury, after. It's nice being able to just have somebody listen.
Like many thousands of other mums across the country, Caitlin shares her experience of going through the UK's maternity services on her social media. Her story reveals a lot about how they're struggling.
People tend to be saying the same thing, that women aren't listened to, that women aren't being respected in the maternity setting, and that the NHS is failing. Now, that is a common denominator through everything that I hear.
Each one of us will go through the maternity system at least once in our lives. And anecdotally, we know there are problems. But how widespread are they? And what are the biggest concerns? To answer that question, the Sky News Data and Forensics Unit has teamed up with experts from Ipsos to analyse almost 380,000 mentions online of maternity care in the UK over the last 2 years. There are more than twice as many mainly negative posts as positive ones.
My pregnancy with Belle was complicated because I had had a previous preterm baby, but from kind of 14 weeks when I got a cervical stitch put in up until around about 28 weeks, it was relatively smooth sailing. I was just in the house and my waters randomly burst. I contacted the maternity assessment, explained what had happened. They told me to come in. I was very anxious. I'll hold my hands up to that. I could maybe come across as standoffish, but I had a lot of concerns. I was bleeding, I had a lot of pain. Honestly, it felt like I was being torn apart. I think they thought it was in my head. I think they thought that I was putting on a show.
The topic that comes up most by far in our online analysis is staff. 19% of these posts are positive.
Contact Maternity Triage. I've found this service to be amazing.
But many more are negative.
There also seem to be real issues around protecting patients' dignity.
You
hear so much negative stuff in the media, and women aren't listened to, but also there's a side in which midwives aren't listened to as well.
Elizabeth, not her real name, is a midwife. We're protecting her identity because she's worried about losing her job if she speaks out. She wants women to realise there are many barriers preventing her and her colleagues from giving good care.
It's tough. It's constantly understaffed, undersupported, bound by guidelines. You're trying your best for them, and women sometimes can't see that, which understandably, you know, they are at heightened emotion. But you are the bridge when you're being told no by the system and the ladies are being told no by you. We're taught that every family could be a litigation case or a court case. We're not taught to treat them as families anymore.
There's a lot of bunting. Last week we had the Day of the Midwife, and now we have the Day of the Nurses, so it's pretty busy in here.
Chinez Otigba oversees the delivery of thousands of babies every year at Queen's Hospital in Romford. The latest being for one of the unit's own midwives, Keely.
How are you feeling?
Yeah,
Tell me
okay.
Straightforward, no problems?
Yeah, it was all straightforward, yeah.
But not all births are straightforward like this one. And there are days when things don't go to plan.
Good luck. Now the work begins, eh?
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
A lot of us will go home and reflect on what has happened that day. And sometimes you don't feel very proud of what you did that day. Particularly when a baby's lost or a mother's harmed. You think, well, oh my goodness, if only I hadn't come into work with the flu, if only I hadn't taken on that extra scan, things like that. And they really, really trouble you and think, could I have done something differently? And it's because there are too many patients with too many complex needs and there are not enough of us.
More complex births require more time and care. And despite the number of midwives in the service increasing in the last 10 years, staff we've spoken to say that many of them are in administrative roles rather than looking after patients.
I was just lying in bed this morning thinking about all of the stuff that women go through that is so brushed under the rug and, like, it's just seen as normal.
Megan fell pregnant with her first child in 2022. The whole 9 months were pretty easy, and she went into childbirth blissfully unaware of what was to come.
I actually started labour completely naturally. I immediately knew it was going to be a tough day because it was completely packed. My waters completely went, like a movie, slosh all over the floor in front of everyone else. I was asking for pain medication immediately, but unfortunately, because I wasn't on the labour ward, they couldn't administer anything like gas and air. So I was just labouring on the floor in the antenatal clinic. I can still remember the feeling of his head reaching, like crowning, and I just got this huge, like my body did it for me, urge to just push. And I did, and I can remember the feeling of it actually ripping open and screaming. And so I was wheeled out, still half-stitched, completely naked from the waist down, and wheeled to theatre, where normal people are kind of walking through. So that was very humiliating. It makes me shudder, like, thinking about it. Sometimes when I remember the feeling, I will, like, a physical shudder comes over my body. It was one of the main reasons behind my diagnosis of PTSD. I wish I'd had my mum there, is, like, one of my biggest regrets. Oh, God, sorry. I think because my mum was like, she's the only person who would she's the only person who, like, would advocate for me, I think. Someone to literally just say, are you okay? Like, that was a lot, wasn't it?
Postnatal depression is a very common topic in online conversations about maternal mental health. 28% of the more than 8,000 posts we analysed about mental health services are positive, with some praising the support they received.
We were supported by the midwife, health visitor, GP and mental health services, and I honestly don't know where we would be without that help.
But 42% are negative.
We lived next to a train line, and I was lying awake one night with my son, who still wasn't sleeping properly, like, through the night, and I remember thinking, that would just be easier, like, just to walk up to that train line and just get rid of myself. And it was the next morning where I said that to my husband, and he was like, we need to talk to someone.
The psychological toll of working as a midwife in today's NHS really cannot be underestimated, and it's really hard to convey the enormity of that toll.
Leah Hazard says that when she became a midwife more than a decade ago, she expected to be doing it until retirement, but she no longer thinks she'll last that long.
Midwives have consistently excessively high rates of anxiety, depression, stress-related illnesses, burnout, even suicidal ideation, and some of us leave the profession for those reasons, and some of us stay in because we have no other option. This job can be amazing, but in too many cases it actually destroys the people who are providing that service.
Student midwives united will never be defeated. Student midwives united will never be defeated.
Do not stop, because your voices are being heard.
Sky News analysis shows that 20 years ago, midwives were one of the least likely types of NHS staff to leave their jobs. Now, they're among the most likely to leave. But there are hardly any vacancies for newly qualified midwives.
What do we want? More jobs! When do we want it? Now!
People's birthing conditions are also midwives' working conditions. If my workplace is hectic, under-resourced, psychologically unsafe, stressed, then of course your birthing conditions are also going to feel stressed, unsafe, tense.
During her labour, Caitlin did feel unsafe. Her waters broke early, meaning her daughter Belle was born prematurely.
The epidural wasn't working, and I remember getting very upset. Like, really, the pain was excruciating. The next thing I kind of remember is opening my eyes and somebody tapping at me on the side of the face and kind of getting me to talk to them. And then next thing I know, buzzers being pulled and loads of people are round about me, and I'm being taken to theatre. Clinton wasn't told that his daughter was born. He didn't know that I was alive or what was happening to me.
Once everything went wrong, I was like, okay, what's happened now? Like, what do you mean she's crashing? I sat in that room for, say, about 5, 6 hours or something. And I think, oh, please God, just let them be okay and bring them back to me and just help them through here. Like, I'm not a very religious guy, and that's just what went through my head. I was like, please just help them.
When we found out that we were expecting, we were over the moon. It was a planned pregnancy. It was our first pregnancy. We were so excited, and we were really looking forward to meeting him.
In January 2022, Sarah was preparing to become a mum for the first time.
I knew that labour had begun, and I voiced this to the midwife that was looking after me, and I just wasn't believed. So I felt quite alone. There was the gas and air that was in my cubicle, so I had to use that. I had no alternative because I had asked for some stronger pain relief and I was ignored. However, the midwife came back and shouted at me and said, "What are you doing using that? You cannot use that," and took it away from me. I voiced to her again, but I'm in pain and I believe that I've gone into labour. She said to me, "Well, you're not in labour because I haven't established that you're in labour."
Sarah knew her care was potentially unsafe because she's a GP.
So I said to her, "I'm really concerned about what's going on here. I told you my waters have broken. I'm a doctor. I'm really worried." And then everything just changed. She looked so shocked. And she said, "I didn't know you were a doctor." What's very worrying is you can be treated in accordance with how you're perceived instead of being treated in accordance to your clinical need.
The topic people are most negative about online is how they feel their treatment was affected by their class or their race. 71% of posts about this are negative.
Black women in the UK face greater risks in maternity and neonatal care.
This points to serious systemic bias within maternity services.
There were racial undertones in the way that the midwife communicated to me. So, for example, when I voiced that I was in pain, she said to me, "Are you sure you're not just high?" So I was stunned. High? What would make her think I was high? High on what? And then when you fast forward it to her knowing my profession and panicking and examining me, she was afraid because she shouted out, "The head is out. His head is out." So let that sink in. My son's head was out and I was nowhere near the labour ward.
But women's maternity experiences don't end after the baby arrives. More than 4,500 posts in our dataset are about the aftercare. Nearly a third of these posts are neutral in nature, talking logistics or procedures, but more than half are negative. After Rachel's baby was born prematurely, they both spent time in the hospital. Early one morning, while her husband was asleep on the floor of her bay, Rachel decided to ask the midwife if she could have a shower.
So I pressed the buzzer, she came over, and I was speaking in hushed tones because it was so early and it was still dark. And I just went, like, "Am I allowed to have a shower?" And she sort of looked at me and I went, like, I don't know if I'm allowed. Like, and she went, "Why?" And I went, "I've had a C-section and I've got all the, like, packing, the wound, like, dressing. And I don't know if I'm allowed to have a shower." She went, "Yeah, you can." I don't even know why. She just sort of snapped at me and just went, "I'm not here to help you." And I remember her pointing, "I'm not here to help you. There are people more sick than you on this ward, people more poorly. You need to learn to do things for yourself. You can get up and do this and do it. I don't need to help you. And if you need help, get him up off the floor." And I was just shocked. Just watching TV and slightly triggered, an advert came on for the NHS and it just said, "NHS, there for everyone." Bunch of liars, you're full of crap. Like, you're not there for everybody. Like, the crap I've had to put up with. Worst tagline ever. So I've got like loads of his first, this was actually his very first vest.
Rachel's baby was in the neonatal intensive care unit.
This is a love heart that I used to put down my top. And then I'd put it next to him while he slept so he could always smell me. It was just a small way of being like, leaving a part of us behind.
She says the high dependency unit was great, but his care quickly deteriorated when he was moved to the nursery ward.
Leaving at night was nightmare. You never knew what you were walking back into in the morning. We walked in and he'd be lying in pools of sick, and we had excuses such as, "Well, how do you expect us to see him? He's in an incubator." Well, I expect you to go over and monitor and observe my child. Like, is that too much to ask? ECG cables, they'd be disconnected. The alarms would all be turned off. And it was like, "Oh yeah, but they're annoying. They're going off all the time." That NICU is the nursery. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. I was bullied as a child and it was that feeling. When I walked in, it was that same pit of your stomach feeling. You'd walk in just like tense, ready for it. Like, and the moment I would see him, I'd just breathe a sigh of relief. Like, still here, still okay.
In a survey of new mothers in England last year, 73% said they were always treated with kindness by staff. Elizabeth believes that even one woman who doesn't feel that way, though, is one too many.
Every woman should feel like they're being supported, should feel like they are being cared for. And I feel like if 99.9% of midwives knew the effect that they were having on that individual, they would be heartbroken.
She needs a accretor scan at around 32 weeks, please. I think people should recognise that we're all human. You know, we get tired, we have problems at home. It's not an excuse to be rude or be awful. If we do come up short, they should tell us in a very nice way, "Doctor, I'm really not happy how you're speaking to me." Because sometimes we're not even aware. And most sensible colleagues say, "I'm really sorry, I didn't want to upset you. I'm afraid I X, Y, Z." I think we just need to look after each other, really.
Mama.
When Sarah fell pregnant with her second child, she decided to do things on her terms and chose a home birth.
My second birth with my daughter Victoria was a healing experience. The midwives were excellent. They understood the pain that I had experienced first time round with my son, and they went above and beyond. Yeah, good girl. Yeah. And I just remember feeling really loved, safe, supported. It was just such a contrast from what I had experienced before. It was really good.
Megan was determined to have more control in her second pregnancy too. On April the 22nd, she had a planned caesarean and welcomed baby Nora into the world. Caitlin won't have the chance of carrying another baby. She had to have a hysterectomy after giving birth to Belle. After arriving prematurely, Belle had to stay in hospital. Around 400 babies are admitted to NICU every day. Most of the time, their stories end well.
Hi, Mummy and Daddy. Today I made my entrance into the world weighing 4 pounds and 7 ounces. I have a special little tube to help me breathe right now as I grow stronger. But do not worry, the doctors and nurses are taking good care of me. How ironic's that? I got a phone call and those words will never leave me. It was the nurse saying, Caitlin, Belle's collapsed. We're taking her to intensive care. You need to come to the hospital. And then we rushed straight up to the hospital. She'd been on the ventilator and the tube was pushing on Belle's lip. And the nurse that was looking after Belle was complaining about how it was pushing onto Belle's lip. Belle had been on the ventilator for a little while, a couple of hours. Her oxygen was stable, her heart rate was stable, the ventilator was breathing for her body was being given time to rest. We were advised not to touch Belle, just to leave her alone, because we didn't want to cause any stress on her that could tip her over the edge. Belle had, the only way I can describe it is a kind of piece of tube that goes across her mouth and then a tube that goes into her windpipe, and that's where the ventilator connects onto. The nurse then decided to put her hands on Belle. As she's put her hands on Belle, the tubes moved, the tubes became dislodged. Instead of the tube coming out of Belle's windpipe, the tubes went down Belle's windpipe. Her right lung has been collapsed and her heart has stopped and she's went into full cardiac arrest.
Medical staff started performing CPR.
It was frantic. People were shouting over everyone. There was a paediatric crash call placed and you expect everyone to come. There was basically no one. They had to phone a second consultant in that was 40 minutes away. It was a mess. And yeah, they got my baby back, but my baby had been down for 15 minutes. Belle was nowhere near the baby that she was post-arrest. You know, she didn't really open her eyes, she didn't cry, she didn't move a lot, she just didn't do much. When we got her home, again, we didn't know how long she was going to live for, so it was very much each day as a blessing. The day before Belle died, the palliative care nurse was in the house and she told us that Belle's tummy had stopped working and she felt that Belle was going on to the final stages of life. That morning before she died, I remember putting her on my knee and I'm saying to her, not yet, please don't leave me, don't go. And I remember just looking at her and saying, no, you cannot leave me, like, not yet, you've not been here long enough, we've not done stuff together.
I just took her, I was trying to put her against my chest and I was patting her on the back and I was like, okay, Belle, what's happening? You're okay. You can stay with us or you can go, it's up to you. But we would like you to stay with us.
We have entrusted Belle into God's merciful keeping. We now commit her body to the ground, earth to earth, ashes to ashes, dust to dust.
Online, people are devastated by stories like Caitlin's and Clinton's. And our analysis shows that accountability is one area that people think can drive change. More than 5,000 posts in our dataset discuss accountability, or the lack of it.
There was no apology or accountability from the people who ignored us.
The whole experience was deeply traumatic.
We're not saying people don't make mistakes, like, people do, but if you make a mistake, own up to it and
learn from it
and be better.
Bill deserves better. Having somebody admit something automatically takes a little bit of that pressure away, and that's what we deserve, and that's what we have yet to have, and it's not okay. It's not okay, and I'll never stop until they do admit what they've done, because my baby does not deserve to be in there.
10 months after Belle's birth, Caitlin and Clinton received her post-mortem. It confirms that Belle died due to a brain injury.
10 little princesses going to the ball, trotting on their ponies past the castle wall, already looking forward to their very special day. 10 little princesses all shout yay. That was one of the things we could do was read to her, and we would always read to her, and we still read to her, because I just hope that there's a somewhere and she's listening, and she knows that just because she's gone doesn't mean she's ever forgotten. One little princess makes a special call. She rings her fairy godmum on her mobile crystal ball, and it just tries to keep us a little bit close, even though we're so far apart. Are they feeling happy as they dance the night away? 10 little princesses all shout yay.
Well, some incredibly moving stories there, and if any of them affect you, you can contact the Samaritans. Their number is 116 123. You can also visit samaritans.org. Joining me now in the studio is birth trauma survivor and campaigner Gabriella Ryan. Last year, Gabriella featured in our Sky News film, The Women Who Weren't Listened To. Gabriella was diagnosed with PTSD following a traumatic birth, which left her with life-changing injuries. Gabriella, good to see you. I don't want to talk too much about what happened 10 years ago when you gave birth to your first child. What I'd like to start with is how you feel knowing that there are stories like that still happening 10 years later.
Sorry. Yeah, it's just, it's a bit of a roller coaster, really, because it's still going on. You know, my son's almost 10. Why is this still happening? And that's why I've had enough. You know, I'm doing more advocating because I've had enough of it, and I want change, and I want people to stop talking about it. I want actual change to happen. But it really needs to start with the foundation.
Yeah.
And the system's broken, and we all know it. And I don't know what we're waiting for to make that shift and change.
It's not just parents and guardians who know it. It's people working in the NHS. We heard from midwives there, and I know midwives, and they're worried of burning out, and it's not the job they love doing, and they feel like they're being held back from doing the job they love doing, and people who want to become midwives haven't got a job to go into anyway. That's a pretty key part of this, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, that's why I say it's the foundation, sorry. It's the foundation because, I mean, I wanted to do nursing. I actually came here in this country to continue my nursing career, and that didn't pan out just because the bursary wasn't going to cover me or something like that. So it was like, what? That doesn't make sense. I'm going to pay out of pocket. They didn't let me. So even things like that, they don't make sense. They're a little bit backwards, or they don't really make sense of when you're supposed to be moving forward. So it is sad. I did, when I was here, I was doing volunteer work at the Imperial Trust, and I saw it firsthand. So I saw that they were understaffed, that people needed help, and, you know, bells ringing here, not enough people to get a hold of them. So all of this is, it just makes sense to me. I've seen it.
And as with so many other issues with the NHS, do you think it's more to do with the system, and not necessarily lack of funding, but bad spending, rather than the people who are trying to do the job within that system, the doctors, nurses, midwives and others?
Yes, that's why I think that in the end, the system needs to be not scrapped, but it needs to be redesigned. So in other countries, there's a lot more spending on prevention. So there needs to be more spending on prevention and making sure that these things don't happen again or continuously happen. There's going to be trade-offs at some point, and you know, to have a better system, that's going to happen. But we need to have a foundation before we say, okay, fix just maternity care or this and that. No, we need NHS to be fixed and redesigned, and we have to start quickly and soon, not just the maternity care, but everything. Everything. There's issues with the system.
Now, listen, I'm no expert on child development, but I do happen to be married to a child developmental psychologist who looks at infants, and she really is an expert on this. And I mention that because I know from home with my own children how important those early days, months and years are in terms of forming that bond. You experience PTSD. A lot of women are experiencing that, or they're experiencing postnatal depression as well. Do you think that is then having an effect on the childhoods, maybe even the adulthoods of those babies whose lives have been started in such a traumatic way?
I mean, I'm no expert either, but I would say absolutely. Just seeing what I went through with my son, I can see that it has...
It's impacted him?
It has, in fact, you know, made him, you know, a little bit uncomfortable in situations, maybe, or maybe he just doesn't show as much empathy or something, because maybe I didn't show any during that time when I was just like, I don't want to deal with you because I'm angry in life, or I'm suicidal, you know? I mean, there was a lot going on in that darkness.
Because it could, of course, be lots of other things. Who knows how people have those feelings of anxiety?
Absolutely.
But you think that plays a part, at least, in how he has developed in that time?
Yes, and it's sad, and I feel guilty about it, and I wish that I could have changed, you know, but I'm making up for it now, and I'm making sure that I'm nurturing whatever it is that, you know, they need, my kids need, and it comes and goes, you know, on every birthday of his or any of my kids, I'm reminded of...
It takes you back.
It takes me back. Every time I speak, I get reminded of this. But it is important. Those first 5 years are so crucial. And despite the fact that I went through what I went through, I would say my kids are thriving.
Yeah,
you know, and that's to me, it's like, hey, you did it. Despite everything I went through, they're doing great. And yeah, they could have done better. You know, I could have done better, but I did well despite the issues.
What obviously matters an awful lot to us here is women and their partners like you. Talk to us about this. And I'm always inclined to finish off by saying, well, what can sort this out? But it doesn't feel right to do that today. What does feel right is to refer to Caitlin, who we heard there, who lost Belle with her partner. And that seems to typify the worst-case scenario with the system as it stands, doesn't it? That really brings it all home.
Yes. Yes, I mean, I can't even fathom what I would have done. Every relationship breaks down, really, when it comes to something that traumatic. And I mean, I don't know, we're still together, you know, because it took a lot of work.
Yeah.
You know, I've mentioned it before, it was not easy. And therapy, you know, I believe in God. So, I mean, it was like, I created my community. I created a system that worked for me to survive.
Yeah.
Because my husband, you know, he's working really late hours. So I was alone with this baby and this injury, and I had to survive. And so I had to create the system to work for me.
Yeah, and that really does seem to be the often unspoken, silent experience of a lot of women who've had to go through this when they really shouldn't have. It's great to see you, Gabriella. Thanks for coming to talk to us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, next week we'll have a special programme on the state of maternity care in the UK. Sarah-Jane Mee will spend 2 days in Coventry Hospital and will present the UK Tonight live from there on Wednesday evening, speaking to families, expectant mums, midwives and other NHS staff to hear firsthand what it's like to give birth right now here in this country. That's coming on Wednesday at 8 o'clock here on the UK Tonight. Coming up after the break, we'll have the rest of the day's news.
An interview that lasted nearly 5 minutes. We talked about Prime Minister Starmer. We talked about the special relationship with who he said. It was a jam-packed interview. I'll tell you what he told me, and I'll explain why you can't hear the call.
I'm Mark Stone and I'm Sky's correspondent based here in Washington, D.C.
Have you seen what Donald Trump's been up to? In the Rose Garden, in the East Wing.
100 days in and back with the grassroots of this MAGA movement.
It feels a little bit like he's a king, not a president.
He is a king.
I've witnessed the remarkable passion for politics here, but the anger too.
Everything in America feels kind of torn in two right now, and it has been an intense few weeks for Minneapolis.
How many more people have to die?
This is not America.
A large and growing protest movement. They're vocal and they're angry.
Are these immigration rates?
Unbelievable we've come to this.
We just arrived in Doha, just ahead of President Trump, and look at that. The horse-backed military and beyond them, the skyline of a city transformed.
There seems to be some sort of a shooting, what appear to be shots fired at the White House Correspondents' Dinner.
What do America's Christian faithful make of the president's pop at the Pope?
The ones that vote for him are going to vote for him through thick and thin.
Before anybody criticizes the Pope, they need to think more than twice.
Mark Stone from Sky News. Will you stop buying Russian energy? Is there any assurance for Palestinian self-determination?
Of course.
It's a big shift by President Trump.
This post of Trump, it's a big shift. It's a big shift. It's very positive.
Sky News, the full story first.
The best thing about being a Sky News journalist?
I'm going to take you behind the scenes here for Election Night Live. They have gone up and up.
Big Sky News journalist.
Ed Conway, Sky News, is anyone going to talk to us? Mortgage rates did go up very sharply during your time in office. Here it is.
First off, just the scale of what we're looking at.
Our data shows it's been happening. Question is, why it hasn't been stopped.
Next, police have apologised for arresting a university student as he bled to death after being stabbed in the street with a ceremonial knife. Vikram Digwa used a blade he said he carried as part of his Sikh faith to kill 18-year-old Henry Novak, who was walking home from a night out in Southampton in December. The 23-year-old told police at the scene that he was the victim of a racist attack. Skylar's Amelia Harper joins me now, and it wasn't just Vikram Digwa who was in court, it was also his mother as well.
Yeah, look, Matt, this is overall an awful case, and one which has actually landed the police in a little bit of hot water because of the way that they handled the scene that they were met with. But ultimately, Digwa used a 21-centimetre knife to stab Henry Novak when he walked home from a night out in Southampton in December last year. And he actually lied to police that he'd been the victim of a racist attack. He stabbed Henry 5 times, including one fatal blow to the heart, which was what killed him in the end. And Henry at the time was a finance student at the University of Southampton. In terms of convictions, as you said, it wasn't just Digwa. His mother was also involved in this. So he was convicted of carrying a knife in public, and his 53-year-old mother, Kiran Kaur, was found guilty of assisting an offender What happened was Digwear had given the knife to his mother. Police then later found that knife at the family home, along with about 20 other Sikh weapons. Now, as I mentioned, there was a bit of controversy with how the police handled it, especially with regards to the handcuffing, because when police arrived, they actually handcuffed the victim, Henry, while he was saying he'd been stabbed. He essentially lay there, collapsing and dying. And of course, this case has prompted quite a lot of reaction, the first one being from the American citizen, tech billionaire Elon Musk. He has said, I will fund a private prosecution against the police. The IOPC, the Independent Office for Police Conduct, is investigating this. We've also today had reaction from Chris Philp, the MP, the Shadow Home Secretary. He said the police action was shameful. In a quote, he said, police seem more interested in cuffing someone accused of making a racist comment than saving a dying man. Hampshire Police has now apologised for handcuffing Henry, and I believe we can hear from Deputy Chief Constable Robert France.
I want to apologise. I want to say that I am sorry that Henry couldn't be saved that night. I'm sorry that he was handcuffed and arrested in the moments before he lost consciousness. It's quite clear that officers didn't understand what had happened immediately. And that is some of the context I would ask people to understand. There had been a delay from those who chose eventually to call them. There were lies from Henry's killer in that 999 phone call. Further lies from his killer as officers arrived on scene.
Well, he's there saying that police believed the lies, a bit of a misunderstanding as to what they were facing. Digwear is due to be sentenced on Monday and his mother in July, Matt.
Thank you very much, Amelia. The former First Minister of Scotland, Nicola Sturgeon, has spoken for the first time since her estranged husband, Peter Murrell, was convicted of embezzlement. Murrell was the SNP's chief executive and pleaded guilty on Monday to embezzling over £400,000 from the party, which he then used to buy an extensive list of luxury items between 2010 and 2022. He was first arrested in April 2023. The former First Minister of Scotland, Nicola Sturgeon, announced she'd split from Murrell in January 2025. And speaking at a literary festival in Ireland this afternoon, Nicola Sturgeon said, "This has been probably the worst week of my life. The last few years have had some tough weeks for me, but this one, I think, surpasses all of them. Coming to terms with the fact that I spent many years married to somebody that, as it turns out, I obviously didn't know at all, is a really painful truth to process. And I think I'm only in the very early stages of processing it. I was completely exonerated, totally cleared. And yet that doesn't stop this week many people pointing the finger of suspicion at me all over again and trying to hold me responsible for somebody else's crimes and having to go through that in a very, very public way." Our Scotland correspondent Conor Gillis joins me now. And Conor, you've been on the trail of Nicola Sturgeon. Look, when Peter Murrell admitted his guilt, she did put out a statement saying she had been previously cleared of knowing any of this, and they lived almost separate lives, they didn't socialise. But still, as she says, people want to hear her answer more questions.
Yeah, that's right. She became embroiled in what has been Scotland's biggest political scandal of recent years. She found herself arrested, spending hours in custody answering police questions before later being released without charge. The same cannot be said for her estranged husband, Peter Murrell, who on Monday of this week admitted £400,000 of embezzlement from the SNP. Now, why does that matter? Well, let's remember who the pair are. Nicola Sturgeon, one-time SNP leader and First Minister of Scotland. Her husband, Peter Murrell, well, he was the chief executive of the party for close to 2 decades. They were at the top of the political power triangle in Scotland for so many years. Now, within the £400,000 admission of guilt from Peter Murrell this week, was him admitting to the bankrolling of a luxury lifestyle that he simply couldn't afford. He bought a £100,000 luxury camper van. He had watches, a Jaguar car, even salt and pepper grinders that were worth a few grand as well. Now, Nicola Sturgeon has insisted all along she was completely and utterly unaware of this spending spree, criminal spending spree that her husband was up to over such a long time, almost a decade. Now, the question many people will have is, why are we in Ireland today, in the west of Ireland? Well, as you said, Nicola Sturgeon has been doing a book tour for her memoirs where she discusses part of the trauma around this police investigation. And we wanted to ask her questions about this because there are outstanding questions. Yes, she's been cleared of criminality, but for so many years she was at the top of the SNP. She was running the SNP while these crimes were being committed to the tune of hundreds of thousands of pounds. She may have answered some of the questions from the audience, but she certainly wasn't in the mood for answering questions from Sky News. Let's have a listen.
Nicola, can you understand why? Sorry, filming in here. Sorry. Nicola, can you understand why some people don't believe you when you said that? You noticed. Nicola, why won't you answer questions from the media in relation to your husband?
It was a bit of a struggle, as you can see, barged by security, and then Nicola Sturgeon doing that runner into the kitchen. Well, why does this matter, and why are there questions for Nicola Sturgeon? Well, it centres around allegations, claims from members of the SNP's ruling body from a number of years ago. While they were prodding and pushing around questions around missing money, they suggest that Nicola Sturgeon made life really difficult for them, and we now know that her estranged husband was fleecing the party for hundreds of thousands of pounds. Also questions around what she knew and what she didn't know. She says she knew nothing. The motorhome that we know, the luxury motorhome, was parked outside her in-laws for a period of 2 years. That is where the police seized it from as well. Nicola Sturgeon denies any involvement whatsoever, but the questions for both her and the SNP are no doubt going to continue, Matt.
Yeah, they certainly will, Connor, and I'm sure you'll be the one trying to ask them again. Thank you very much indeed. We're going to head to Kent next, in the southeast of England, where thousands of people are again facing severe water supply disruptions, as South East Water confirmed its storage reservoirs had reached a critical level during the hot weather. Remember, this is a part of England where this has happened not once, not twice, several times before for the local people there. With a warning this disruption could continue into the weekend, there is more growing frustration among many who live in that part of the world. Sky's Oliver Whitfield-Mearchich has more on this.
The sun's shining, the tourists are out, but in Whitstable, the water's off. South East Water says it's been too hot to keep up with customer demand. Now cafes, restaurants and pubs have all been forced to close by the council over hygiene concerns.
The restaurants should be full and pumping right now. We've got thousands of pounds worth of stock in our fridges, and unfortunately we can't sell any of it, and there's been no real update as to when we actually can.
It's very devastating because, we've had a long winter and we rely on our springs and our summers to take us through the winters, and you know how hard the pub game is at the moment.
So far, 5 collection points have been opened across Kent, but some ran dry. Only days ago, the water company said it had rolled out new technology to keep stocks topped up.
Affected customers are being allocated packs of bottled water depending on how many people live in their homes. But with temperatures in excess of 25 degrees Celsius and long queues to get here, most people that we've been speaking to say they're not impressed with their utility company, which claims to have pure know-how.
Well, they don't know how, do they? No. Unfortunately, this is what it's like in Kent at the moment.
What do you make of it all?
I think the water company needs a good kick up the backside, basically, because basically they spend all their money on paying the executives big money, and they don't put any money on the infrastructure, do they?
Their frustration has been exacerbated by repeated outages. At the end of last year, 24,000 customers had to boil water for several days on end after a plant failure. Local MP Roger Gale says it's simply not good enough.
I'm a Member of Parliament. I can't get through to South East Water. I've got what are supposed to be private accessible numbers. They're not answering. They're not answering me, they're not answering you, they're not answering the local radio stations. They're certainly not answering the general public.
Despite repeated requests, South East Water refused to speak to Sky News. In a statement, the company said, "We expect customers will start to see tap water supplies return later today, but this may be intermittent over the weekend. We are continuing to ask customers in supply to use water for essential purposes only, for example drinking, washing and cooking. All things these hospitality businesses cannot do and are now shut indefinitely, adding further uncertainty to a local economy dependent on visitors." Oliver Whitfield-Miocic, Sky News, Whitstable.
Pretty unbelievable it's happening again there. Jess has the latest sports news now.
We're here at Silverstone to see if Alpine's Franco Colapinto can pick which of these 5 drivers is the real professional. So the idea is we're going to do hot laps and then we're going to have a race.
Is it karting drivers or like
Professional driver.
professional driver, not karting?
No, not karting.
Can you show me their faces?
It's a mixture of ages.
Okay.
No, I can't show you their faces because you might recognise one of them.
Green flag, green flag.
Vamos!
Has he got wet or is slicks?
I think they're
Slicks?
I think
Oh
they're
my god.
slicks. Right.
Slicks in the wet. That's proper English, huh?
That's how we do it at Silverstone.
Actually, really good lines, eh? It's quite tricky with the slicks on the wet or what?
So what do we think of him or her?
Oh, we got girls and men.
Yes, we have girls.
Okay, we got a mix. Hit the curve? No curve. Oh, a bit wide. Hit the curve, come on.
I mean, actually, I don't think you need this right now. You can just talk.
No, this is quite cool, eh?
I got
Oh, a bit of oversteer.
Thanks, Jess. We're staying with football now, actually, because Crystal Palace fans are celebrating their club's first major European trophy after the Eagles soared to victory last night in the Europa Conference League. It marks an incredible couple of years for the fans, following on from the club's FA Cup win last May. A bit earlier, I caught up with 3 fans who were at the game in Leipzig last night and about to head home. Aaron and Max Goddard and their dad, Dave, have been season ticket holders for 2 decades. I started by asking them for their thoughts on another historic season.
We lost some big players over the last year or so. Decisions that we didn't agree with, and you know, our chairman and manager kind of publicly fell out about it. But you know, we just kept going. Some great young players came in to you know, back us up, and we've done really well. So it's been fantastic.
And do you know what really springs to mind is West Ham won the Europa Conference League not that long ago. You've now won it. They're going down, and you're at the top end of the Premier League. The margins are fine, aren't they, here, between big success like this and possible failure like West Ham are experiencing?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the fans' expectation goes up and it's difficult to maintain it. I think we're quite realistic in that. I mean, I said it last night, I don't care if we don't win another game, but I'll probably change my mind next season.
Oh, you definitely will. You don't want to just start the season losing games. Can I just ask about the atmosphere and about the travelling Eagles going over there, and also the fact that thousands of them went to Selhurst Park to watch it on the big screens there? There's been a huge following, as you'd expect from Palace, or has it been bigger than you expected?
Bigger, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. They're always passionate fans. So, and obviously it feels like a once in a lifetime thing. So they've, you know, the stories we had yesterday, people coming from via Poland, via Prague, yeah, all over the place. 9-hour train journeys. You know, just loads and loads of stories about how people have got there. So. And then you just see a familiar face of someone that usually sits behind you haven't spoken to for years. It's fantastic, yeah.
You're not talking about your sons there. You're talking about other people, of course.
No, unfortunately, I do see them quite a lot. They live next door.
And also wearing the retro shirts. I mean, the Eagle Eye was spotted there. Just tell us about those 2 shirts you got on, boys.
Well, this is. Do you know what year this is from?
I actually don't, off the top of my head. No,
This is from the previous cup that we won from the Zenith Data system in 1991. It's not actually an original one. It's just I got it from the Paris website a few years ago.
That was going back a bit. Were you even born then? That's the thing.
No, we weren't. Dad was there at this game with our. We weren't. No, we weren't. Dad was at that game with our mum. Yeah.
With my ex-wife. Yeah.
And this is the kit they wore on that day. But these are replicas you can get off the website. But they're great. Everyone was wearing old school retro shirts all over Leipzig. Yeah, it was cool.
You almost dragged us down there into what football does to families. What I'm going to finish on is a positive, and the bonding with the boys together. The football's one thing, the success is another, but really, wasn't it just about getting, the dad and boys back together and following something together and doing it together? Is that what it's been really about?
100%. We've been talking, we've had season tickets in the same seats for 20 years, and to do something like this together is just ridiculous.
It's a dream come
we
true.
never thought it would happen in a million years. It's mental.
Don't make me cry again, man.
We're making me cry because my dad doesn't even like football. And, of course, I support Liverpool, Liverpool, who you beat in the Community Shield at the start of the season. So let's not go there. Listen, thank you so much for talking to us. Safe journey back. And once again, up the Eagles. Congratulations. Aaron, Max and Dad Dave, they're on their way back from Leipzig. Now, let's take a look at the weather.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean All Clear Skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors Sky News Weather.
The record-breaking hot spell is coming to an end, with temperatures dropping over the next few days to around the average by Sunday for the time of year. Most places will be warm and dry this evening, though, but there'll be a few showers dotted around, mainly in the northwest. The odd rumble of thunder is possible too. There'll be further showers in the northwest overnight, merging into longer spells of rain for northwest Scotland. It's going to be another warm one, though, especially in the east. Tomorrow morning will bring a bit more cloud overall. Much of Ireland and Wales is turning sunny by lunchtime. The windy north and the west of Scotland will see rain, while central and southern parts of England can expect some showery outbreaks. Most other places, though, look dry. It's going to be cooler than recently, but still very warm across the southeast of England.
All Clear Travel Insurance proudly sponsors Sky News Weather.
That is just about it from me and the rest of the team here on the UK Tonight. Up next here on Sky News with The World, it's Barbara Serra. Thanks for your company.